Well, Liam, it's been a busy few days in terms of recruitment. Let's start with signings. So Scott Twine, somebody that's been linked for a very long time, and must be happy you finally got your man.
Yeah, delighted. It's been a battle, to be fair. I think in terms of our side, Burnley side, it's been a long drawn out, huge amount of work, but delighted to finally get there and get him in. I thought we had a glimpse at the end of last season of what he's capable of, and I look forward to having him here permanently and hopefully building on some of the good bits he showed in the back end of last season.
Is this a sort of a win for a little bit of patience? Because it seemed fairly obvious he was top of your list, and it's taken a while.
Yeah, very much so. I think sometimes when it's not happening, people think that you're not doing any work on it, but I can assure everybody it was a huge amount of phone calls to him, to his agent, to the club. There was a lot of communication, a lot of to-ing and fro-ing. It's been constant for 3 months to get to a stage where ultimately what you're trying to do is work it so that everybody kind of benefits from the deal. So Burnley get what they need, we get what we think's fair, and ultimately the player gets what he wants. So it's been good to be able to get it to a stage where everybody's comfortable with it, and like I said, look forward to seeing what he can do in the near future.
Because obviously City fans got a little glimpse at the end of last season, not as much as he would have liked with the injury, but how confident are you that there's a lot more than even what they saw at the end of last season to come?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's quite clear. If you look at his last 2 seasons, it was a bit stop-start, not the minutes he wanted in his first year at Burnley. Then last year, a little bit out of position at Hull, and then comes here and obviously, unfortunately, misses a chunk due to injury before then kind of starts up. So I think he's quite clear. He knows this is a big year for him coming up, and he's got to concentrate on doing what he does. And I think that's showing his love for the game, working hard. And bringing the risk taking that he shows in game with the ball. I think that's the biggest bit in terms of when you look at his creativity, his set pieces, his willingness to take risks, and try and put people in on goal. They're the bits I think that hopefully we can get out in him consistently game after game. And like I said, he's quite clear. I think it's a big year for him, but beyond that as well to to really establish himself as a top Championship player.
And not the only player you've brought in the last couple of days, George Earthy, very much at the start of his career, but somebody who's got a lot of sort of hype about him. Tell us a little bit about why you've gone for him.
I think in terms of, it was linked probably an element a little bit to the Twiney one in terms of if it wasn't to happen, having someone that we know I think's ready to to have impact. Obviously not proven like a Twiney, but I think he's someone that can come in and compete. You've seen glimpses in the games. I thought he was excellent in the Premier League 2 last season for them, but also I think in terms of when he's come on in the Premier League and had impact, and obviously I know a few people at West Ham as well. So the feedback I've had, and I worked with George when he was 13, 14, around that age occasionally. So again, knowing his character and what we're getting, I think was a big attraction. So I think he's someone that could surprise a lot of people in terms of what he's capable of.
And again, he has played in that position, so you've got 2 players now for that one, but would you also look at him in different positions? He looks like he could be quite versatile.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I quite like about the group at the minute. We've got people that can play in different positions, whether it be wide, central, between the lines, slightly deeper. I think we've got what we haven't done is I think diluted the quality by getting people that don't have real strengths. I think we've got people that got real strengths that can play in different positions rather than people that are just average at everything and can be moved around. So I think we've got that versatility in the group, which I think is going to be a real big strength for us.
So those are the 2 additions. Tommy Conway's future has been sorted, moving to Middlesbrough. How important was it to get it sorted for you, for him, for Middlesbrough for that matter?
Yeah, of course. I think, like I said, it's about working a deal where everybody gets what they think's fair. So again, I'm sure like the Twiney one, Tommy would have liked it earlier. We would have liked it earlier, and I'm sure Middlesbrough would have. But I think in terms of when you look at it, it's about like I said, trying to work it where everybody's comfortable with the deal. So yeah, it's probably taken longer than everybody had maybe expected. But he's gone.
And in terms of the fact that it's all sort of settled and the things that have been hanging over the club, maybe more than the first team, hopefully that just it calms everything down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think in terms of sometimes there's a bit of unwanted noise around it, but I have to say the group have been great. They've not. It's not just it's not taken away from anything. Their focus, what they're doing, what we've concentrated on. So again, credit to the group for making sure that we stay tight knit. Like I said, it's part of the game, it's part of the industry. you have to move on quickly.
And it's something that you kind of walked into halfway when you joined the club last year. But I think a lot of fans there'll be an element of frustration at the way it's ended with Tommy Conway, because as a lad who's come through the academy, it would be nice to think that things like that won't happen. That situation won't arise again, where you're in a position where he feels he has to leave.
Yeah, of course. I think I'm really excited by what we're doing here, and I think you speak with the lads, they are as well. So I half get it. I've said it numerous times. If someone's moving to a club that you go that they're Premier League and their journey's gone a lot quicker than the team has, I think the club's got that history, and I've got it as a coach where you go, look, move on. You're ready to take that next step. And Tommy felt that maybe he'd done that, which again, when you look at it, it's a move to a competitor rather than a massive step up in leagues, etc. So yeah, for me, players will make decisions on their futures. All we can do is control what we can, and that's making sure that we look after the ones that want to be here, we look after the ones that are performing, and make sure they get rewarded, and and build a squad I think that's capable of pushing and has real competition. Which when you look at it, we made 7 changes the other night, but when you look at the quality that we showed first half and the depth in the group, I'm excited by what we've got.
And now looking at the squad, is that pretty much it? Things can always change if somebody you don't expect to be available is available, but are you now looking at that and thinking that's pretty much done?
Yeah, we'll have to look at it. I think I'm really comfortable with what we've done so far. I think in terms of if the window shut now, I'd be totally fine with that. I think it's been good in terms of what we've added. The different profiles, the balance, the different options we've now got. I think we've done a good job of that. But as you say, you never know in this window.
And I guess the fact that Scott's played with not all of the forward players, but a good number of them, that it aids in his coming in. And there are a lot of moving parts up front, a lot of players that have come in, and it is going to still take a little bit of time to get that the way I'm sure that you and the fans would want it.
Yeah, that's what's probably excited me from the first 2 games. Is we're by no means have people clicked and understand each other's games and the relationships fully established. So it's only going to get better. I think if you look even the first half of the other night and even the last 10 minutes, the number of chances we created, the areas we got into, the problems we caused, I thought was really good. So again, I think you add Twine into that, you add George into that. I think you continually do the work that we do. I'm really excited to see what the front line can do.
All of which takes us into to the next match, home debut in terms of the championship this season, and a Millwall team that. Certainly the tail end of last season, I think, surprised a lot of people with the way they played. The results they got. Yeah,
definitely the results they picked up. Neil knows the club better than anybody in terms of playing and coaching there. So again, I think he had real clarity in what the expectations are there. Yeah, we know it's going to be an extremely difficult game, but one that we should be up for, we should be looking forward to, and one that we should be looking to go and dominate.
Thank you very much.
With George, you touched it there, his link with the pursuit of Scott. So was it not in the original plan then? And I know it's a flex, but I know things change. I know the transfer market, you've got to be opportunistic and all that kind of thing. But at what point did you kind of think about signing him?
I think we were quite clear. George was on the list. He was one we actually spoke about in January. We obviously did Dire, but George was one that we looked at, slightly different in terms of profile and how they play. But he's one I've known a while, we've watched for a while. And of course, it did feel like there was a point where it wasn't going to happen with Twine, and what you then didn't want to do is lose out on, the options below that. And George was one of those in terms of in our top 3, top 4. So again, I think it's one of those where we've been fortunate to get George in, and someone that was going to get opportunity, and it's on George then to grab it and make the most of it. And then obviously we moved closer with Twine. So again, I think it was one of those where we were, like you said, we have to be flexible, you have to be adaptable, and you have to find a way of managing it, and what you don't want to do is leave yourself short. So I'm delighted we've got 2 players of slightly different stages, but both with huge amount of quality, and one with a huge amount of potential.
What do you think the biggest challenge for him is going to be?
George?
Yeah.
I need to see him more. I need to work with him more. I think it's what I do know in terms of his character. It's obviously that he spent his whole career at West Ham, and so to leave and first loan, new club, being away from home, small number of senior appearances. I think it's one of those in terms of getting into the rhythm of what Championship football looks like. At the minute, it's actually not a forgiving it's quite a forgiving programme when you look at August. But that Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, the physical demands, and as much as that, the psychological demands. But he's been with the first team at West Ham a long time. You can see his sharpness in training. So again, I think he's quickly settled into the group. You can see that because of how he is as a character, which again was another big attraction in terms of how he is as a lad. So I think it's one of those. I think it's confidence, bit of arrogance, bit of belief to go and show that you're above the level.
So he's trained a couple of days?
Trained, his first session was Wednesday, yeah.
Okay. And how's he looked?
Yeah, sharp as expected, bright, intelligent. I think he's one of those, he's relentless with his running. So again, I think his energy and his feel on the ball are really good. So yeah, he's had a decent couple of sessions.
And would he be in contention for tomorrow?
Yeah,
if selected, of course. But it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Everyone that's fit and available is in contention.
And would that be the same for Scott as well?
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, so far this season, and I know you sort of formations and all that kind of thing. You've gone with the back four. Last season, you tend to be with the three, with the two playmakers. In a very sort of basic reaction to what's happened this week, you now have two playmakers. Have you kind of been looking to get to that point, or are you still feeling between the two? Like, do you have a system that you want to do, and those have kind of now enabled you to do that, or have you kind of liked what you've been playing so far? Admittedly, in only 2 matches. Yeah,
no, I think the biggest difference for me, the 4 to the 3, is pressure on the ball. I think, and you've seen that in the first 2 games. I think, having a back 4 instead of a back 5 allows you to get pressure higher up because you've got the extra body. So I think that's the bit we like about it. But at the same point, there'll be games where we might go to the 3 because we actually think out of possession, that's how we get more success. In possession, you'll see the 3, and if you look at the 3 last season, and even some of the stuff in possession with the 4 now, it's very similar in terms of the shape that we create. So I think in terms of that, I like the fact we've got the flexibility. I like the fact we've got players that are intelligent enough now and understand it enough that we can go between the 2. So again, what it does, I think it does make us adaptable and unpredictable, but without trading off how we want to play and it looking completely different, we can seamlessly move between the 2, I think. So it's definitely something that we might look to in the future.
With Scott, because obviously he's been desperate, determined, really wanting to come back. Why do you think that is?
I think a few bits. I think I know he loves the area. I know he loved he's obviously moving back into the city, but he loved living in the city. I think he had a great relationship with a few of the players, and obviously I have a strong relationship with him where I think in terms of trying to get the best out of him, I think with him you have to give him an element of freedom. The positions he takes up, the risk he takes. I think someone like him, what you don't want to do is shackle him and restrict him. So again, I think he's enjoyed it here from that perspective. I do think he feels like he's got a bit of unfinished business, and given he missed a few months, I still think he probably feels an element where he owes the club a little bit. So I think when you look at it, he fits the group. He's ambitious, he's driven. He's, like I said, he's still got a lot to prove at this level. And I think when he looks at the group and the staff, how we work, the culture that we've got, I think you'll have to ask him, but I think he feels it's a real good move for him in his career to help get him where he wants to get, which is aligned with me in the group, and that's the Premier League.
With moving on to Tommy, when you kind of look at what's transpired, which I appreciate has been difficult for a number of reasons, sort of been managed as best it can, reached a conclusion that has been the sort of the best case scenario to a point. Is it something that the club would look at as maybe a lesson, because of the volume of young players you've got at the club, the potential for this to happen again in terms of someone's contract? Like, how many sort of learnings do you take from this situation moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's constant, right? I don't think it's the same as when you do good deals and you get things right. I think you have to reflect on everything and not just stuff that you doesn't potentially go how you want, but you can never force anybody. I think that's the thing, the talks. It wasn't like we got to the summer and went, right, now let's try and do it. The talks have been going on a while, so it wasn't like it was a last minute, right, oh no, this has happened. I think it's something that had been ongoing. Like I said, I'd had numerous chats with Tommy last year and where things are at. There's obviously then other conversations that happen, so it's not like it's something I'd look at and go, we'd be able to change a huge amount of it, to be totally honest. So again, of course, we'll reflect, we'll learn. We don't want to lose our better younger players, but at the same point, no one will be bigger than the club, no one will be bigger than the team, and if people express a desire not to be here, then for me that will do something to move them on and get people in that are hungry to prove a point and show that they're all in on the club and what we're trying to do.
How's Sam Bell?
Yeah, he's not good. The scan results aren't great, so we're now getting a specialist to go over it to see what it looks like. But yeah, he's going to be out for a while.
And that's a hamstring.
Hamstring, yeah.
Was it the same?
Same side,
Same one.
different
Okay.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's obviously tough for him to hear.
Yeah, and me, and
Yeah.
obviously Mick and family and everybody. I think it's hugely frustrating, disappointing. We again have to look into why in terms of we already looked into the week he'd had lean into it, and everything was totally fine. If you looked, he didn't do a huge amount Saturday. He was obviously recovering Sunday, really light session Monday, so it wasn't a fatigue-related thing. So again, I've had a medical pull. We'll go back into it. Obviously, all the bits in terms of rehab happened pre him, so we have to have a look at that and make sure whether that was done exactly as it should. But as with anything, you have to analyse everything.
How do you kind of reflect on Tuesday? Was there anything that stood out when you subsequently watched the game back and had the analysis sessions and whatnot? Is there anything that stood out that perhaps you didn't notice on Tuesday in the moment?
No, nothing major. I think it was. I think in terms of it was probably quite aligned with what I thought in my head and felt afterwards. What we spoke around. I thought the first half we caused some problems in terms of a desire to run, but also the quality. I thought the indecision we caused in them kind of forced them into that mid block where they're unsure, which led to us. I thought we had some really terrific good attacking moments, lots of good chances, and then second half, obviously, as I said, Mark solves the problem a little bit, puts a bit more pressure in, and the bits for me, Jules, we had to win more and not give the ball away as cheaply under pressure. So it was pretty aligned. I was really pleased. You have to remember Hayden's first game since last season. Nazy's first 90 minutes in a long time. Tails' first game in a little while. So when you look at the changes, with Steph included, we made 7 changes, was it? I think in terms of you wouldn't have known that watching the first half either. So elements second half, some of it might be because of that. But yeah, I thought there was a lot of positives to take on it to build on.
In terms of I've asked a few times about the attacking cohesion. You're obviously very much of the mindset that it's getting to a good place. Is that something you look at and do extra work, or is it you haven't changed your position?
Yeah, no, it's constant, the attacking stuff. We did a load this morning, to be fair. We did a load. It's something that, again, I think you can hype it up to be, that self-fulfilling prophecy. You can make it a much bigger problem sometimes than it is, given we're 2 games into it and we've played 2 different teams. So I think, look, the numbers are good in terms of both games, 15 shots minimum on target. I think, not sure what Hull, can't remember what Hull was, but I know both were over 15. If you look at even the other night, our final third entries are double Coventry's, our penalty area entries, all the actual metrics and numbers and etc., all that stuff that you look at, and most importantly, my eyes tell me we're getting into really good areas regularly. The bit that we spoke around with the lads now is just that calmness, that ruthlessness, and that conviction at the end of it, which, naturally you get closer to goal. Less time, more pressure. You rush things. It's about how do you, just chill out a little bit and make sure that you concentrate on the connection and the timing and getting the real basics right.
And with 2 now in, you mentioned on Tuesday night that may lead to consideration for departures. Is that likely to happen, or are you still at the point of assessing the squad?
Yeah, no, it's possible. We've had some chats, and I think it's obviously happened so quick with Twine, and now knock-on effect, we then need to have a discussion to see what it looks like in terms of what's next. So yeah, I've got those chats with Brian coming up.
And I guess when you have an injury like Sam, that influences those discussions as well, because all of a sudden you've got another player that you need to cover for a period of time.
Yeah, and you forget Hughes back hopefully in 2-3 weeks as well. So he's someone that obviously as a new signing, I'm sure fans are desperate to see. I'm desperate to see that. He's not a million miles away. So again, I think he's one that will come back into it very soon. So yeah, of course we have to make sure that we get the balance right of having competition and depth, but at the same point not being too heavy in terms of numbers.
Thanks very much, Liam.
Thank you very much.